I'm going to do it. It's about consistency, just the creation of daily routines and activities and events throughout the month of October. It's Vlogtober.
Hi, my name is Charity. I'm a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist since 2016, and this is how I became a pharmacist. Some insight to my journey. So I decided that I wanted to be a pharmacist when I was about 16 years old. I got my first job. It was at Eckerd. It was called Eckerd at the time. So they had a pharmacy and then they had a front end. And so I worked on the front end, very like limited experience in the pharmacy. So I would just do some ringing up there, and I enjoyed working with the pharmacists. They were really nice. They were mentors, so to say. For me, they kind of introduced me to the profession, and I enjoyed science courses. And the salary at that time seemed to be, really good, and it was important. My parents always kind of like pushed me towards like, you want to have a career where you're always going to be able to find a job. And healthcare is one of those fields where you'll always be able to find a job. And so pharmacy just kind of fit. And so from 16 years old, I said that I wanted to be a pharmacist. And in my mind, it was just going to be retail pharmacy, right? Because my experience with pharmacy was in the retail realm. So going on to college, I looked around at colleges that offered pharmacy. Either they had a pharmacy school, they had pre-pharmacy as a major or program track. And so if I can remember correctly, because a man is a terrible thing to waste. In high school, I looked at VCU, I looked at UNC, and I looked at Hampton. Those were the three schools on my radar. I looked at University of the Sciences in Philadelphia. I had looked there. I looked at Maryland School of Pharmacy. So those were the colleges that I was looking at. I was such a baby. I did not want to leave home. I sent my deposit to VCU with the plans of going to VCU. So I sent my money there. You had to put in a deposit by a certain time, whatever. I put my deposit in. And my now husband drove me one weekend to do like orientation there, just to kind of like go around the campus and all of the things. Mind you, this was after I sent my money there and said, hey, yeah, I'm coming. Got there. I was like, oh no, this is not for me. I'm from the country and it was very sick. But it wasn't for me. But the last minute, because I hadn't applied to very many colleges, Virginia Wesleyan. So I ended up going to Virginia Wesleyan because they gave me a lot of money to go. A lot of college classes in high school. So by the time I started college, I had, I was through a few like the first semester. Like I was taking introductory biology and the things, but just because they had to be at that college because it was considered core college classes. I had some detours. Certainly I had some detours. So I stepped away from Virginia Wesleyan because I thought that I wasn't going to have enough money to get through pharmacy school, because pharmacy school now is becoming very expensive, right? So I step away. I finish up my prerequisites. I'm like, forget the degree. Let me just get my prerequisites out the way so I have enough money to make it through pharmacy school. I send my application to Hampton. I get waitlisted. Okay, boom, get accepted. I get a call that I'm accepted. Now, I have one course standing between me and starting pharmacy school, and it was calculus-based physics. And take my hat off to engineering majors and engineers, because they are such intelligent people. Because when I tell you, I took physics more times than I would like to divulge. That I'm gonna fail this class, right? Like I failed the class. I did well in the lab. I did horrible in the lecture. And the lab teacher, I talked to them, they were like, yeah, I'll give you whatever points that you need to be able to pass the course. And I remember distinctly, I had to go to the lecture, the professor of the lecture, and tell her like, hey, this is what's going on with me and the lab teacher. And she looks at me and she literally says, if you're not smart enough to pass physics, then maybe you're not smart enough to be a pharmacist. So I failed physics after I got waitlisted and got in. And I think this is why I try my best not to question things, because my grandfather ended up passing a few months after that. And he played a big big role in my life, and it was unexpected. He passed, I got pregnant with my daughter. And I think if all of those things would have happened and I would have been in pharmacy school, it would have cost me time and money because I wouldn't have been focused or prepared. So all things work together for the good of those that, okay. Next year, I'm not even going to apply to pharmacy school, right? I'm like, okay, I have this child. I'm going to have this child because I'm pregnant at this point. And I just need to get out and work so that I can provide for her. Think about doing something else. I think I was going to try to go to the University of Virginia and get my degree in teaching, and I was going to become a teacher. My mom was like, no. Absolutely not. You're going to apply to pharmacy school. So my mom forced me to apply to pharmacy school. I get the invitation to come on site and do the on-site interview. And I spend like a week, me, my mom, my grandma, searching high and low for something to wear that like can conceal my pregnancy. Remember how far along I am at this point at the time that I'm about to go do this interview, but trying to conceal like this pregnant belly. And I was a big pregnant person. I think we did a pretty darn good job. I don't think you could tell that I was pregnant. I get in. I had my daughter in June. C-section, emergency C-section. I have her in June, and I start in August. And when I tell you postpartum hit me in the worst way, and I didn't know at that time what postpartum was and that what I was experiencing was postpartum, but okay, I do my 4 years without incident. I graduate in 2016, and my daughter doesn't even remember. I remember thinking like I'm missing all of these monumental moments for her. Like I should just quit. And I remember one of my classmates said, no, you need to stay. She's just a tiny tot. By the time you get finished, she's still going to be a tiny tot. She's not even going to remember this. He was 100% correct. We were talking about something, and she was like, yeah, I'm going to have to talk to my aunt about going to college, you know, how it is living in a dorm or whatever she asked. And I was like, well, you know, you could talk to me about it. And she legit looked at me and was like, when did you ever go to college? So she didn't even remember that I was in college. And when I graduated, she was 4. So that was my experience with becoming a pharmacist in terms of education. I ended up with my doctorate of pharmacy. I have an associate's that I got from finishing up my prerequisite work. It ended up getting me an associate's degree. And do I regret it? I'm such a determined person. I feel like I can't regret it because when I decide I want to do something, like I do it. Do I wish I would have done something else? I mean, it's fun to dream. If I would have done something else, what would it have been? Probably law. I probably would have tried to be a lawyer. I hope this gave you some insight to my journey to becoming a pharmacist, why and how. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below. I'll answer them as I see them. And until next time, bye.